YouTube, welcome, and this is my little experiment that I've set up for different types of hot glue. In the last glue test that we did, we found that hot glue was one of the higher performing glues, at least as regards adhesion to a fabric-backed vinyl PVC to PVC. It was extremely good at that. That was simply using regular off-the-shelf Walmart bought mini glue sticks, low temp glue sticks. Here I have similar, comparable ones. These are actually from Target, but they're the same, essentially. Non-yellowing, mini-size, multi-temp, bonds wood, metal, glass, florals, fabric, foam, etc. in 20 seconds. This right here, Pro Strength. Also, I think this was Walmart. Pro Strength bond for metal, wood, glass, many plastics. Doesn't say how many seconds it takes to bond. This though, BSS 6-4 Aero. These are large diameter, high superpower, slow setting hot melt glue. Doesn't give a time for setting, but slow set. They say wait 5 minutes for gun to heat and melt glue. That's not the other side. Alright, so I don't know how long it would take for them to set. I'm going to apply it in 3 different ways to several different pieces. First of all, I'm going to apply hot glue to the wood. This is just poplar, so the wood's not super strong. It's not even a super duper wood. It's not very porous, which is great. This is not a very ideal wood. What I'm going to do is glue 3 strips using the 3 separate glues to it, and then just subjectively I'm going to see if there's a substantial difference in adhesion for either of them, any of them. I'm going to do the same thing with these 3 identically sized pieces of pleather, and the final piece over here. I'll just indicate which glue is used for which. To melt them, just so we're all in the same playing field, I'm going to be using the heat gun. So I'll show you how I do that. First of all, I'm going to turn the heat down to about half, 50. First of all, let's go over here. You can use higher heat, but you need to be careful because it can easily burn. You'll just start to notice the edges going soft, the material sagging a little bit. Oop. Yeah, the index of refraction of the material as it melts, I think, changes a tiny bit. It just looks different. Okay, that's pretty good. So now let's just apply some here, and then we'll spread it out nice and thinly. Don't worry about it setting. We're going to do the actual adhesion later. So that's that. Now let's come over here and apply a little bit to the left side. This is roughly the same technique that I use for Sias and other materials when I'm gluing them. I like to melt the glue first, let it set after it's been spread out, and then reheat it to melt it when I'm ready to adhere, because otherwise you can't get very much hot glue done. Okay, that's a good little square. And I'm done with this, the mini size multi-temp bâton de coller. Let's stick that back inside, and let's pull out the Pro Strength. These are large, since I don't want to waste a whole stick, because that can make it hard to feed if you use it manually. Just going to cut a little bit off, stick it back in, and go to town. Up one, over one. So first of all, let's get some of this on the wood. If you overheat it too much, you're going to notice that it starts to smoke. That means you're burning it. That's no good. I don't think that means it's useless, but still, you have to be careful. What's interesting is that this is much more fluid when it's done, so I think this already has potential to be useful in applications like SIAs, where you have very little clearance between pieces, between the wood and PVC. It tends to flow better. It looks like it's still soft. Quick setting is not something that you really want. That makes your life a lot harder. Okay. Gonna heat this corner, or rather apply it to this corner now that it's heated. Great. And yeah, that's almost too small to do anything with. I'll just pitch it. I'll take the penny loss. Now for our superpower glue. I'm looking for a Superman-like performance from this. It was quite a bit more expensive than the others, so if it really did perform very well, that would be very gratifying. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to do anything scientific. This is all going to be subjective and anecdotal, but I'm trying to make it as consistent as possible. My goal is just to see whether there's a noticeable difference in adhesion. If there's a notable difference in adhesion, then perhaps I'll do a little bit more research, I'll look into it, I will go to the manufacturer's website, see what other things I can read about them, etc. But if they all perform approximately the same, there's probably no need for any of that. This is just the first step, preliminary tests. Since we found hot glue to be so efficient before, it's worthwhile to give it a second glance and to try some of the other materials. Okay, now we're on to this. I'm going clockwise. Okay, and the corner. Each corner now is completely covered in the respective hot glues. Since I don't have any hot glue guns that'll take the 1/2-inch diameter rods, I'm still going to keep that since the only way I can use it is with the heat gun. Great. Okay, step 1, labeling. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, of course, is our multi-temp mini. 2 is our pro strength. 3 is our superpower. So I've labeled them, I've labeled them, I've labeled them. Everything's labeled. Now let's go ahead and reheat the glue. Just subjectively feeling them. Wonder if I can tell any difference. This is nice and smooth. This is still feels a little tacky. Effectively no difference. Now remember, we're trying not to burn it, but to melt it. Okay. Squishing it down as much as I can. And just for the sake of it, so we don't have to continually twist it to see what we labeled, it'll label the tops as well. Now number 2. Before it starts to smoke, you'll notice little bubbles forming in it. So that's just something to pay attention to. If you see bubbles forming, that means it's probably time to stop heating. And the third. These strips are not perfect. This is the thinnest, this is a little bit intermediate, and this is the widest. So that will play a factor, but hopefully not too much of one. On each of them, I didn't rub away any of the excess material on the ends. Again, that shouldn't play too much of a factor. But let's set that aside and move on to this test, the fabric adhesion. Okay, take that square. I expect the fabrics to adhere abnormally well only because of the cloth backing. All the glue gets into there and it creates an enormous amount of surface area. But still, I wouldn't have expected it to adhere so well to the unprepared PVC. Maybe if it were sanded likewise with providing an abnormally large amount of surface area contact surface, but even without that benefit, it still seems to perform very well. I'm rooting for the superpower glue, mostly because it's called superpower glue. Okay, I'm putting them off at an angle. My test is mostly going to simply be trying to rip it off. If there is a huge discrepancy, maybe I'll go to the trouble of constructing a more scientific test. Say I could do things like this, making sure that they're almost identical, as close as possible, and then hang weights from them, so on and so forth, like that until it shears off. But for the moment, I think this will do. Okay, the final square, and it's on. Great. 1, 2, 3. Whoops. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to let this sit for about half an hour, then I'll come back. So you can tune in again later and find out exactly what the results are of this glue test. Will the mini size, mini temp, bargain brand mini batons perform as well as the superpower slow set glue? We shall see. Thanks for watching, YouTube.